I'm on the G Kids website sometimes just for ideas for some films to watch with my daughter, who isn't really drawn to a lot of movies right now while she's in this video game phase. And there's this movie on there called The Painting, Le Tableau, that even the cover art looks like nothing else on there or really anywhere. Even though it seemed unique, it just didn't really call to me for the longest time until recently when I decided to give it a go. And it's a strange and wonderful film. It's its own thing, but to try to describe it, it's part Waiting for Godot, part The Matrix, part, if you have a daughter, maybe you might have watched some Disney Sophia the First at some point, and there's an episode in there where they get sucked into a painting, a series of paintings actually, each with its own reality, its own world, unknown to the others. And well, that's what we have here as a premise. Now, the painting we visit depicts an elegant palace with a high society socialite class enjoying an evening in fancy dress, while around it are less finished figures on the palace grounds. You see, the painter never finished the painting. So a class system has emerged in the painting between the all-dones and the half-dones, the halfies, who aren't allowed into the palace proper. And then, of course, there's the lowest caste, the sketchies. And these are figures the artist only just began sketching out or roughing into the painting. And they are looked down upon by everyone else above them. So you see where this is going. It's about equality and parity and whether some lives are inherently more valuable or important than other lives. So you never really need to cogitate a whole lot on the themes in this film. You can pretty much see them marching up Fifth Avenue toward you the whole time. The film is so well imagined, so well animated and designed, and this is from 2011, mind you, that you just get caught up in it anyway. Now here's the plot, and it could have been much simpler. They could have gotten away with a much simpler story, but to its credit, it takes its time, and along the journey picks up a unique ensemble of characters from all the different paintings that it takes us through and creates a very layered experience that's rewarding to stick with. Now, Lola is a halfie who is almost completely finished by the painter. But because she's not, she's still considered an outcast. And she's a friend to another halfie, Claire, who is much less finished than Lola. Her face is just a sketch. And Lola and Claire sneak away from the grounds where the halfies live every night so that Claire can rendezvous with her forbidden love, Ramo, an all-done, who believes the classes should live equally. And that's not a popular view in the palace. Ramo is sort of a revolutionary. There's also a scribble named Quill, a sketchy, who sneaks into the palace with his young friend Gum one night to keep tabs on the upper classes to see what they have planned for them all. And tonight, they overhear the leader of the all-dones, Chandelier, announce that the painter is never coming back to finish the painting. So if they want peace and security in their position, it's time for some, well, final solutions. Now, they don't really go into the darkest place with that idea in this film, but still, for a movie that's largely kid-friendly, it's pretty dark. Now, Quill and Gum are found out, and in a pretty disturbing moment, Gum is surrounded by all-dones, egged on by Chandelier, and he's trampled and crumpled and kicked seemingly to death, or at least into a crumpled mess as one might a drawing that doesn't turn out. Quill escapes and finds his ruined, lifeless friend and flees back to the forest, where he collides with Ramo and Lola, who have decided to set out to find the painter and ask him to finish the painting and set their world to rights. Chandelier has sent his goons after them to make sure they never come back. So high stakes already. And then, fleeing into a whiteout, Lola tumbles with such force that she flies right out of the canvas, out of the painting. Ramo and Quill try to rescue her, and they exit the painting too. They all enter the painter's garret and see their own painting, their whole world, hanging up there among many others. And so Lola slips and finds herself in a painting of a military battle with some very self-important military men engaged in an eternal war that they never stop fighting or even question. Lola's arrested as a spy, but while pleading her case to the commander, trying to convince them that they're all in a painting and she's from an outside world, she wins the curiosity of a very young soldier named Magenta, who is nervous about going into battle with the men. Magenta helps Lola escape, and the two flee back to the painter's garret, where the painter's other paintings are uncovered, including a beautiful nude, the painter's lost love. Now, there's actually a fair number of topless shots in this film, for lack of a better term, and a brief animated abstraction of some hanky-panky. It's very loving, but oh, the French. But it's there. Maybe a little more than young American audiences can deal with in a kid's film, and possibly maybe one of the reasons the painting isn't more widely promoted here in our somewhat, selectively puritanical market. Let's call it that. Now, there's also a depiction of Venice during their huge costume festival, which they enter next and get separated, where the figure of death seems to be stalking them, especially stalking Quill. It wants Quill's satchel, which he's guarded bitterly against anyone touching the whole long way. And we find out, spoiler, it contains the remains of his ruined friend, Gum, who is only still... He's not alive, but he's not dead because of Quill's devotion and belief that maybe he can persuade the painter to fix his friend at the end of their quest. There's a lot of heavy stuff going on here like that. For instance, at one point, Ramo and Quill discover a whole room full of demolished canvases, paintings that the painter, their creator, destroyed in his wrath. And they realize that Lola is in danger and they should maybe abandon their quest or risk the painter's wrath themselves. Maybe the painter is a vengeful god. Stuff like that is in the film that makes an adult audience really sit up and take notice, really engaging the existential portion of your mind. So when they get lost in Venice and you realize a long way into that segment that there's really no reason for them to even be there, the painter's not going to be in one of his own paintings after all. It doesn't even matter because you're just enjoying the journey and the sheer beauty of what you're watching. I should note again that this is a French production, originally with French dialogue, and just a comparison between the English and French trailers has you guessing that maybe the English storyline and dialogue might have been dumbed down just a little bit. It could be that. But whatever it is, I'm not going to be too quick to condemn any plot or logic holes because they could play very differently in the original film with the original French dialogue, and there's just no easy way for us to know. Just go with it, is my advice. But you won't have to try too hard because the film really pulls you along with it and immerses you in this world. Now, finally, without any sign of the painter's return to the garret, the group uses their newfound perspective on life and art and decide to save the world themselves and steal paint from the garret to smuggle back into the painting and into the palace when they get back with paintbrushes for everybody, to let everyone reinvent themselves, take agency over themselves in effect, and killing off the notion of needing a painter at all, a grand designer. They save the world themselves. They fix it themselves and even give the baddies a makeover in the process, just to take them down a notch. Now, where is Lola at the end? Why hasn't she joined the revolution or even finished painting herself? Well, she's back in the garret, on a hunch by herself, climbing out onto a beach where the painter goes every day to paint the ocean. Now, he's given up painting people, and no wonder. Lola confronts him, and, well, the ending is satisfying, I'll say that. Thematically powerful, and yes, a bit on the nose, a bit trite, but it's well done. Satisfying. I will say, for a film that is so lavishly created, which hinges on visuals, wonderful visuals at times, it does sometimes lapse into exposition a bit. Maybe they thought it would help younger viewers follow the abstractions of the story. I do think, at least in the English version, it loses something there, and stronger visual storytelling, a tighter style to go along with such strong visuals could have elevated this movie into a masterpiece, a classic, instead of what it is, which is just a pretty interesting film, fun to watch. Now, will kids like it? If you can deal with a painting of a topless woman, and your kid is maybe over 10 and a reader and introspective, that sort of kid, maybe. I definitely give it a try. It's like reading a play on some levels. It definitely is educational, or at least good material for thought about, politics or metaphysics, art, philosophy. How can you really ask for anything more from an animated film? I'm struggling with the recommendation. A European older kid or an American adult, I don't know really who it's for, but it might be for you. It's beautiful. It moves. I do wish it were more tightly directed, but having worked for years myself among animators, it's a miracle this film exists, even as tightly paced as it is. So kudos to the director, whose name I'm about to mangle, Jean-François Laguionie, for the final form of this thing. Not a true masterpiece, but an aspirational masterpiece at least, with a lot on its mind while remaining fun and hypnotic viewing for almost everyone. Now, I saw this film on Canopy. What is Canopy, you ask? Is it another paid streamer that's going to suck my wallet dry? Well, I'm glad you asked. No. Canopy is free. It's actually part of the free public library system here in the United States. And if you have a library card, chances are good that you can access Canopy totally for free and watch hundreds of films in their catalog. And not just for kids, grown-up films as well, and not just socially responsible or morally redeeming works of high art. They have lots of Hollywood films in abundance, more than I would have guessed, more than I would have wanted, frankly. But they have them. There's something for everyone, and it's free, just with a library card to stream. So check it out. And of course, there's also Canopy Kids. All right, that's it. Give the painting a look, question your world and your existence, and let me know in the comments if you can get your kid to watch this movie with you. I'm very interested in other people's successes there. Or if you see something else on Canopy, for instance, that they do watch with you, let me know about that too. Okay, until the next one, I'll see you.